However, I do welcome him and the rest of you to the next episode of What Has Biden Done? Yeah, since there's so many anti-Biden people on this app because they say Biden hasn't done anything, I thought that I would just, whenever I see something that the Biden administration has done, I will come in and share it with you and we'll name it, What Has Biden Done? So for this episode, let's talk about what Kamala Harris has done. That's Joe Biden's vice president. I forget where I saw this from. I don't know if I saw it on Instagram or if I saw it over on Twitter, but she posted this today at POTUS. POTUS is the president of the United States, which is Joe Biden. Today at POTUS and I are establishing the first ever federal database to track official records of misconduct by law enforcement officers. And she posts her statement explaining what the situation is. Let's read the statement. Here's the statement. Statement by Vice President Kamala Harris, the launch of the National Law Enforcement Accountability Database. Every person in our nation has a right to be safe, and trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve is essential for public safety. Police misconduct undermines that trust and threatens the right to equal justice under the law. Today, President Joe Biden and I are establishing the first ever federal database to track official records of law enforcement officer misconduct. The National Law Enforcement Accountability Database will ensure that federal agencies have ready access to records of serious misconduct when hiring federal law enforcement officers. As a United States Senator with Senator Cory Booker and Representative Karen Bass, I authored the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. And last year, President Biden and I issued an executive order banning chokeholds, restricting no-knock warrants, and strengthening use of force policies for federal law enforcement, in addition to other critical reforms. President Biden and I will continue to do all we can to advance police accountability and strengthen the bonds of trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve. And we renew our call for the United States Congress to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. Y'all remember that the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act didn't get passed because Tim Scott blocked it. Remember, Cory Booker and Tim Scott were working together to, do whatever needed to be done to get the act passed. And then Tim Block pretty much stepped in the way to block it on behalf of Lindsey Graham and the rest of those racist Republicans up there in the Senate. So as of today, I believe the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act is just sitting dormant in the Senate. Yeah. Why? Because we, the voters, did not give Democrats enough of a majority in the Senate to really make a difference. It's like really down the line. And we couldn't get enough people to support the legislation. Because remember, we have deadweight Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. And so, yeah, nothing happened with the George Floyd Policing Act. But the good news is they did try to move forward to implement some other things like banning chokeholds and restricting no-knock warrants, those types of things. They did that by executive order. But remember, if Joe Biden is not reelected and Donald Trump gets into office, he will cancel out that executive order. I shared with you guys today what he plans on doing for police departments all over this country. And it does not benefit Black people. In fact, it puts Black people in some serious harm. And now they have created a database that can be used to track the misconduct of police officers all across this country. Shout out to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. But wait, there's more. Joe Biden's administration is working on putting legislation together that will help 500,000 Americans to buy homes. Why we ain't heard about this? This been going on since the beginning of the year. Why we don't know about this, Democrats? This is what we talking about when we say y'all suck at messaging. Not a House representative, not a senator. I ain't heard nothing about this. But we can hear all about congressmen and what they have to say to their fellow Republican congressmen. They can squabble out there on social media, but no, not one of them is talking about this new initiative that they are trying to put together to help 500,000 Americans to buy a home in this economy. Here's what's going on down. The Biden administration revealed a new initiative aimed at assisting 500,000 Americans in buying homes, which they are trying to address housing affordability challenges. It is called the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act, and it has been sitting in the Senate since 2023. They first tried to get this passed. They first tried to get this done in 2021, and it was blocked. It's been brought up again. It was introduced, and then it was passed on to the Senate, and then the Senate assigned it to the Finance Committee for them to do whatever needs to be done, and that's where it's been ever since. The Neighborhood Homes Investment Act was proposed by Senators Ben Cardin and Todd Young, and it's aimed to generate $125 million in development revenue over the next decade, facilitating home purchases and providing down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and renters. Lael Brainerd, the director of the White House's National Economic Council, emphasized the program's potential to make homeownership a reality for families without generational wealth, with a goal of narrowing the racial gap in homeownership. Why aren't Democrats talking about this? Why aren't Democrats putting pressure on whoever's holding it up to do what needs to be done to get this legislation passed? You know how I found out about it? I found out about it through one of the wealth pages that I follow over on Instagram. They're all excited about this because this program provides tax credits / incentives to companies in the construction industry to get these homes built. And they're spreading the word. They're all excited about it. Call your congressman. Ask them why they're sitting on this legislation. And this is the latest episode answering the question, what has Joe Biden done?